mute from the feed, then we all wouldn't be able to talk to one another.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can't tell us about the truck you're trying to buy.
Yeah, I know. I ain't trying. I'm going to.
When are you getting it?
Well, probably today. I already told him to pull it to the side.
Way to be a good American, Jeff.
I am. Stimulating the economy. while supporting my local businesses.
Uh-oh. So I just discovered if you try to move a window and the hand pops up, it takes the whole image right off of there.
Dude.
Whoops. Huh. Interesting. So what color is it, Jeff?
It's a flat slate gray.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool color. Doesn't have any metallic in it or anything. It's like that flat gray. Works for me. It's funny. I don't really care if I'm leasing something. I don't really give two shits what the color is, as long as it's not obnoxious. Because I hate black vehicles. But yet, if I see the vehicle that I like and it's a lease, I'm like, I don't care. But I wouldn't buy a black vehicle unless it was, a pre-owned. I've got a pre-owned C-Class. That's why I need to decide: am I going to sell my 2000 Ben, or am I going to sell the 2010 Benz? My son drives the 2000, and he really likes that old one. And they're so cheap to work on for a Benz. So I might actually just stick with the old one and sell the 210.
Yeah, that's a real personal question there. Can't help you with that whatsoever.
The way that I figured it out when I had extra cars and I needed to get rid of one, I just got T-boned on my way to work and got paid more than
that does it. Get the insurance.
Oh, if we could all be so lucky.
Well. I'll see what I can do about that.
All right, 2 seconds.
Fancy. What's up, Eric?
What's up, Jeff? Hey, Alex.
Chris?
Morning. Or afternoon, depending on which side of the country you're on.
True. All right. Alex, you got everything squared?
No, we can't hear Alex.
I know. Way to go, bro. You had 15 minutes leading up to this.
Oh, we don't have the echo.
I had it right, and then I accidentally moused over the screen and blew out the image for a second. It looks like it reset everything to try and get it back. So I'm frantically fixing over here. We just have a Christian now. I think I'm just missing a last name at this point.
Robinson.
Yeah, I'll add you in there in a second, Christian.
Oh, no worries.
All right,
Christian, what's your background? Where are you at? Share with us.
So currently I'm in Twin Falls, Idaho, southern part of the state this go around at Twin Falls Subaru. I've spent 9 of the last 10 years of the vendor side or of the dealer side on Subaru. I did step away for a little bit, went up to northern Idaho. I've been at Subaru Las Vegas, Prescott down in northern Arizona. So I've been in a few markets and, just kind of keep picking up things at each store and moving it along and going to the next place and applying what I've learned.
That's awesome, man. How long you been where you are now?
I got here in October of 19.
Okay.
So just in time for everything to kind of go off the rails.
Did the dealership get purchased?
Yeah, we had a buy sell go through in June of last year. So that's why this is really working out pretty well, because our site is pretty new. It doesn't have a lot of the domain authority. We're able to keep some of the backlinks from the previous site because we had some pretty good backlinks through some blog articles that we had written that were linked to through some industry news talking about new Subaru models and features and all that. So I wanted to make sure that we were able to keep some of those. So I did blow a couple of months of SEO budget to have them manually copy over every single blog entry that we had from our old site, just because we did have some, pretty good content in there.
What were you? I should ask. What website platform were you using before that had the blog integration?
It was dealer.com. With Subaru, it's
Okay.
pretty much required. We have to use dealer.com, so we just used everything through there. And with the migration, we were able to migrate a lot of the site, just none of the blog content. So we had to manually do that.
And y'all were purchased by Rydell, right?
Correct.
And do they have a group website that you're feeding up to?
No. I mean, they have an auto mall site that you can opt into, but it's mainly just other stores in the group looking to purchase vehicles from, other members. It's not really like a third-party lead provider for people in the group.
Gotcha. Okay. So today we'll paint this picture a little better. Eric Milch has joined us to do an SEO audit, and Christian Robertson has volunteered, mostly because he's got a brand new website if you couldn't put that together. And Eric, we got to ask, where do you want to start?
Eric, by the way, I love it when you wear your glasses.
Well, it's the only way I can see up close. It's like my body's I just joked about this the other day. My body's warranty ran out. I guess is right after I turned 50. It was like 12 hours later. My eyes went on the near term. I can see fine far away, but up close reading.
It's that VR Quest messing with your eyes,
that
and you're
works
tired because
great.
you're tired from trying to beat me in Beat Saber.
Well, thankfully I did. So.
By the way, is there any way to turn off that notification? I'm tired of seeing beat somebody.
Every time I look, I know. Every time I look down, it's like Eric Milch is beating you in Beat Saber today. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Well, why don't we do this, Alex? I've got just let's set it up real quick. I got a few slides just to frame the narrative here and just teach a little bit at least to the audience as well. But I got some good info, and again, we're not going to get too deep in terms of tech, tech mumbo jumbo stuff. But I figure this is a good way to go about it, and again, have some fun with this, and then we'll dive into the site. Does that sound good?
Sounds fine.
All right, so let's jump over here. Don't mind me. I'm going to look over here to my left on the other screen. So why is it important? It's Jeff, you remember back when we did Dealer Think Tank, 5 years ago? I did pretty much the same presentation then. And what did it take? It took COVID for finally people to, in my opinion, to finally realize what the heck is going on out here. We stopped paying for all this paid traffic, but yet we were getting great traffic. And then dealers were like, hey, you know what? What's going on with the organic bucket? And they're suddenly realizing it. And this is my logic, Alex. What do typical dealers do, in terms of paid search? The average spend is what? About $8,000 a month, they say, right? So if you take that logic, you're paying for about $8,000, $9,000, $7,000, whatever the number is, for about maybe 20, 25% of your overall traffic. But yet, what's the biggest bucket of traffic? Obviously, it's organic. And we all know that organic, they stay longer, they look at more pages, they bounce at lower rates, they convert at higher rates. So they wind up going through and, and realizing that. But yet, how much money is actually spent on that biggest bucket of money, that biggest bucket of traffic? Next to nothing. And when they do, it's nowhere near in proportion to what they're spending, obviously in the, for the paid channel. So anyways. So this is the way that I look at it, guys. Let's just run through this real quick. Everybody's trying to explain it, and this is really what the explanations wind up being. It's all over the board. And, at this point, people are just like, how does it really work? What do I need to do? There's so much info out there, and there's so many people that are still at this point just, peddling older tactics or outdated maneuvers, things like that. So, this is the way that I've always been able to explain it. Okay, search engines are pretty much like my wife. All right, they're smart, they've got an answer for everything. Very complex. Obviously, we all know, hard to understand at different times. They're always updating things as well. I'm not really sure why they're doing this. And of course, if you try to trick them, you're going to be penalized. And then lastly, if you just play by their rules, they're going to reward you. So that's pretty much what's going on with search engines. Anybody disagree with that?
No, it's a great analogy.
So
I'm
here's
going to run that by my
way
wife, who happens to be an SEO expert.
What's that, Alex?
I'm going to run that by my wife, who happens to be an SEO expert.
So this is the easier way to think about it, guys. It's all about, at the end of the day, we just have to make it easy for the search engines to find the website. If they can find it, then they can show it to more people. Anybody disagree with that? That's pretty much what it comes down to. That's the simplest way I've been able to break this down. Okay?
Let me ask this question. Are you seeing more and more dealerships contacting at least you, Eric, looking for organic SEO services?
Absolutely.
Because I feel like the pendulum has sort of swung back. I know as you were speaking 5 years ago, whenever we were doing Dealer Think Tank, it seemed like it was sort of on the rise. And then, of course, let's go back 10, 12 years ago, whenever we were really deep in the SEO, especially on DealerRefresh. Not too many dealerships were doing it, but they were discovering it. It almost sounds as if now, more and more dealerships are jumping into the organic SEO. And I guess after 10 to 15 years, finally seeing how much sense it makes. Whereas on the flip side, for me, I got to be honest, I've sort of, I don't want to say shied away from SEO, but I haven't given it the time and resources that I should be, because I don't want to say I'm discouraged, but I'm sort of discouraged over the fact that it's so hard to compete. You've got so many other third-party sites out there, OEM. They've all figured out the SEO game 5-6 years ago, and they've got such a tight pull on that first page. I just find it really difficult to rank. So I'm even here to learn today, because I'm sure I'm going to pick up quite a few things that maybe I can apply. Well,
that's perfect. That's perfect setup, Jeff. Why don't we jump into the site itself? And I'll start off like this. I'll share the screen again, Alex. We'll just start off with a basic search for your site, Christian. And the logic behind this, everybody, is just in terms of understanding the search, the search ecosystem in terms of what's really important. Okay, so let's start off with local search. Google's main job is what? To show people the best solution and answers to their problem and questions, obviously. And when it comes to shopping intent, they're going to show local businesses. They're going to show local businesses that are literally, to customers that are in that business's backyard. That's just simply how it works. So here in this case, you've got your Google My Business profile, the sales profile. I like to call this even a local landing page. It operates in that sense. So think of in terms of trying to match the intent as well. Twin Falls Subaru, Google has no idea, and I doubt any of us would know, obviously, what the specific intent is off of a search like that. However, the whole purpose of the Google My Business profile was what? To be able to answer as many possible scenarios, and help the customer out with a better experience. We don't know if they want to look at photos, get maps and directions, just simply either click the call or obviously click through to the website. There's so many different things that they can do. So the point here is to be able to optimize this, as we've always said, Jeff, to be able to capture anything. In this case, Christian, you guys have done a great job. I'll give you high marks across the board from everything in terms of the tags that you've got on your website button, the tracking tags to the primary category. The one thing that I would recommend looking at on the back end is what are those other primary category or the secondary categories that you have in terms of like used car dealer as well, and be able to have those in too, because those will add additional relevance. But everything else, you've got some additional services here, in-store shopping, in-store pickup. And then the key things too, just in terms of the other departments. Again, what if that person really just wanted, parts and service? Now there's an easy way to get to it, obviously. But, as we go down, you've got the other CTA links. Another one I would recommend, if you haven't noticed it yet on the back end, there is a new order link that you can put in. And this just started appearing. It may take a little while, and you may notice that sometimes when you put that in, the other ones go away. Just be patient. I've been told that those things are just still, still in the works, but I have been able to get that to fire. So now there are 3 additional links.
What's an order link?
Yeah, it literally, the label just says order. And what I've been doing is actually putting the parts link, the order of parts link. I put that in there. Unfortunately, there's nothing yet that allows us to be able to customize either the placement or the label of that CTA. But hey, it's another link. And that's all I'm looking for, is just another place for the customer to engage and obviously be able to track that. Again, your tags are good. You got source as Google, medium as organic. You got your campaign on there, GMB. What I would recommend, you can either put it in the campaign or in the content label. Just change it, or at least just add it into the fact that it's a products and services CTA, and then do the same exact thing for the appointment. Because while you've logged them all, tagged them all the same, in your analytics, it'll look like that traffic all came from the same CTA. And this way you can at least segment them down. Okay. And then from there, you've got the product section. This may or may not be available for everybody. Probably is available for everyone across the board mostly now. There's a couple things. Great job. You've got it in there. You've got it set up the way that I like to do it myself as well, just in terms of the models. And then there is a price field here. You can put a price, either a starting price or a range. You can put that in for additional context. This category, or this bucket of content, actually allows up to 1,000 characters. And you're probably about halfway there. I would max it all out. There hasn't been any definitive proof yet that the extra content actually impacts ranking. But my theory is, if there's a box, I'm going to fill it up as much as possible, whether it's for context or engagement or whatever. And then same exact thing with the button. On this, you've got the tags. You've got your medium is set as Google My Business. I would recommend changing that to organic. And then again, on this one, you have the campaign as product BRZ. That's spot on. So just minor tweaks like that. And again, if anybody's watching that doesn't have this, these are must-have items, especially because of all the things that are in fact coming to GMB, and there are a lot of them, and I'll cover that in a second. You got your description filled out. Looks like that's also 750 characters. Looks like you're pretty close to that. And then you're using posts. Everybody loves posts. They're a great visual, visual item. Maybe some engagement. I don't tend to see a lot of clicks from that. But again, if you're using them, just make sure you fill it all up. Do it consistently. And then, again, use those tags, and then just follow that same formula that I said before. In terms of the new things that are coming, somebody already put a comment in there, Alex, about the stuff that's coming. Google is just rolling out their new cars for sale and vehicle listing ads. So we should see the addition of new carousel ads up in the top of the organic, above the paid ads. And then on top of that, the ability to pump your inventory into the Google My Business profile itself. We've been looking forward to that for a long, long time. We finally got the word on that just recently. Really, really fantastic product that's going to be coming out. And if you haven't already put these items in place, do it as fast as you can, because the whole game in terms of the local search is about to change dramatically. And the ability to capture more local shoppers, optimize for those discovery moments, things like car dealer near me, used car dealer, things like that, they're going to become so much more important. And then on top of that, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with the analytics, because imagine if you search for a car You see the car, you get all the info. Now you can click that. You're going to bypass the home page, and then you're going to just land on that vehicle. So the ability to go that quick into the car info without having to go through the muck that shoppers typically have to go through, that's significant. It's going to impact website performance. It's going to impact analytics, and who knows what's going to happen to the third parties as well.
How is the inventory getting into GMB?
Inventory feed.
Just like any other?
Yep. All the major players, all the same feeds that we're all using right now. That's going to make its way into it.
So I need to make a call to HomeNet.
The program isn't completely open just yet. They're just rolling it up out of the the final stages of the testing that they've been doing. I believe there was like 10 large groups that were in the initial beta, in the alpha and the beta. But there's the bottom line, guys, is that there's way more to come. I believe, I don't know for sure, but I believe that a lot of these features were supposed to come out a lot earlier. Obviously, everything else that happened last year probably delayed it. But there's a lot of really cool things. And again, this is going to change the whole landscape in terms of how we approach. So Anthony said, I'm not sure that's correct. I'm not sure what he's referring to, but what I do know is that these items are, in fact, they are coming very, very soon. We've had our conversations with Google as well. There's Chris is asking who's got it now. I know for a fact CarMax was part of that program. That's one. And
Anthony says he's
with
in there.
a large group and part of that program. So that's cool. But that's what I can share for now about that. But overall, just Christian, in terms of your GMB, nice job with that.
Okay.
Just make sure, obviously, that you're tracking that data that comes into your analytics, so you can absolutely see. And then the last thing I always recommend is just to make sure that you've got the ability to track the appropriate conversions from them as well. It's great to be able to see traffic coming in, but you want to see what that's contributing as well from an outcome standpoint. Click to call, hard conversions, form submissions, VDP views, obviously, whatever else is important for you guys. Make sense?
Definitely.
Any questions, Jeff?
Nah, I just tried logging into my Google My Business, and someone changed the password again.
You and everyone else just tried logging in there.
All right, let's jump over to the website. Let's jump over to the website here. I'm going to do this here. So let's take a look at, let's see, hold on one second. Let's take a look at this here. Where do we go here? So the first thing I look at right off the bat is, when I'm doing at least a quick eye scan of the site, I want to take a look at a few key things. Homepage, meta title, homepage title right up here. You can see the metadata there. I want to take a look at how is the navigation laid out. And this plays an important role, an important piece of not only just how it impacts the ability to get to the pages, but just the usability as well. And then I want to take a look at the content here. And we all know we've always got some content here. It's more of an exercise in futility usually, but this content absolutely makes a difference. And then when I go through this piece at the end, guys, I'll show you a couple of examples of a couple home pages that we have been able to rank for oddball terms that are very competitive, high volume, high search activity, and we have been able to truly move the needle to be able to increase that visibility. Because what did we say in the beginning? All we wanted to do was make the site more visible to Google. If it's more visible, Google can find it easier and faster, rank it, index it, ultimately show it to a shopper when they search for something specific. That's the game. So in here, we typically see some stock content. Now, I could tell right away by looking at this, when I looked at this last night, this is obviously has been updated from the stock content. That true, Christian? That's safe to say?
Yeah.
So this was rewritten. Kudos on that. I would strongly recommend everybody take a look at this content, make it unique. There's an opportunity if, in fact, somebody does want to read it. But here's the key.
It's a good message.
you got some interesting use of keywords here. New Subaru, used car dealership. You got the location. Look for things like that. If you don't have it, how are you applying the context and how are you buying that? So Chris just commented, or just buy that traffic. Great response. I hear that often, Chris. And in fact, my typical response to that is, why would I want to just simply lease or rent that keyword when I can own that keyword and over time build the SEO equity, as I put it. And so what, in theory, what happens, and I have seen this over and over and over again over time. It's not an overnight fix, because keep in mind, SEO is a marathon, pay-per-click is a sprint. And if you're doing it right over time, you're going to be able to start to decrease that spend and decrease that reliance on pay-per-click. I'm not saying you're not supposed to do it. I'm just saying do it a little bit smarter and watch those buckets and watch that spend as you put it to each one of them. The next one I'll jump to, guys, is the links. We always wind up seeing links in here. Now, I know, Christian, that somebody probably changed these. I like what they've done here. I especially like the fact that you've got you got links that are referencing a year and a make, and then on top of that, you've got models. Minor adjustment that I would recommend at least experimenting with is playing around with terms like Subaru Ascent for sale or Subaru Ascent lease. Now you're getting a little bit more specific. And again, internal, or as we call deep letters, or deep links, are not specifically, they're not a major impact in terms of the ranking factor. But again, it's one of those things. Stacking these activities up does over time make a difference. And again, I'll show you an example of that.
Christian, is that your work? I know, you focus on the SEO in-house.
I
just reading through that, it looks like an awesome job.
A majority of it came from our agency partner. They do have an SEO partner that they work with as well, and I'm sure that they consulted with them and had some of the writing done from there as well.
Yeah, so cool. Even something like doing something like that.
I always recommend dealerships to find someone that, of course, understands SEO, but someone that's just a good content writer.
Absolutely. That's such a great point, Jeff. You just somebody that knows how to write. And again, we're not, the old adage is write for shoppers, not for the search engines. Keep it natural. Mm-hmm. This is a well-written piece here. But again, you have the opportunity to be able to go through and truly optimize this. Again, I'll show you a couple other examples of how we do this, but this is just at first glance. And again, I'll get a little bit deeper into the technical SEO audit.
Do we have to worry a little bit about keyword stuffing penalties if we were to put lease deals after each of the models? Or do we want to change it up? Some of them lease deals, some of them for sale.
Yeah, I would absolutely mix that up. And on top of that, I would not there is no benefit whatsoever in putting the same keyword multiple times in there. So if you did, for instance, Subaru lease deals, putting that three or four times in there, Google's only going to pay attention to the first link. They're going to ignore the others. So a lot of people unfortunately misunderstand it and thinking that, if I have more links going to the same page, that's going to help. That's not true. I think Rick just asked any other tools. I do have a slide in that. I'll show you. I got a list of about top 15 audit and SEO tools, so I will share that as well, Rick. But again, if you notice too, I'm not in the site, Christian, but it was just making some quick changes. Like if I wanted to say stress free, if I wanted to say add another keyword in here. It's a great plugin you can use. It's just called Edit the Site. Just do a Google search for that, install it, and you'll be able to edit a site in live. I love playing around with that just as for examples, to be able to put this in and just make quick edits for quick mock-ups, and then I wind up working from that. So it's a real nice efficiency tool, and it's also helpful when you're working with a team to be able to show them other examples. So that's how I was making those. And again, it's not permanent. Just refresh the page and it goes away. But as you keep going down, again, more links like this. This is where you start getting into the terms that are at least familiar, at least something that people in fact are searching for. And I bet you there's got to be somebody watching the show, Alex, that when they look at this, they're going to see things like cars or used cars or just finance or just the term service. Yeah, that's not specific enough. The joke that I always use is if it's just finance, what are we talking about? What's the signal you're giving to Google in terms of financing what? Lawnmowers or bicycles?
And who types in finance into Google who isn't trying to find a stock market thing?
Exactly. There you go. Perfect analogy. So again, to that point, Christian, again, just whether it's using something along the lines of
payments.
What would you, rather than
lease,
finance application,
loan.
payment application,
new vehicles, loans and leases.
Yeah. But it's just adding a little bit more context, and intent type of signals. Again, you don't want to go overboard. There's an old measure that people used to talk about with reference to your other question, Christian, regarding keyword density. Google doesn't look at that.
I was getting ready to ask if that's still an important thing with around keyword density.
It's not going to help you, but again, like I said before, just right for humans, not for the search engines.
Used to be, I think, about 3 or 4% keyword density is what you were going for, right?
Yeah, that was an old metric a long time ago. But again, as you get further down, and we'll look at one of these other pages, when you start looking at, again, used cars, the content on that page needs to just be about used cars for sale in a specific area. Anything other than that is not relevant. This is about used cars, but we'll touch back on that. The other thing that I look at, guys, is
the area in being specific has been pushed around for a while, but I've always wondered if there are a lot of people who are actually going in when they go car shopping once every 3 years and say, you know what, now I'm in car shopping mode. I need to put in that I'm looking for a Subaru in Twin Falls, where all the rest of the time I'm looking for a television or something. I'm not putting in a local area.
Yeah, but you don't really need to put in a local area anymore. A lot of people will, but again, most people, whether depending on the device, will have their location set on anyways. And if you're on your desktop, it's probably on, unless you changed it. But Google knows where you're located, and they're going to show you local results. That's their entire goal. Like I said before, they just simply want to be able to show you relevant and reliable businesses, in your backyard, that are basically close to you. Let's see. What I'm doing here, guys, is just doing a quick review of the in my of the navigation. I've said this for years, Jeff. You remember me saying this. You've got 6, 7 primary functions of the dealership. So why wouldn't you focus in on those? Let's see. You got new, used, specials. You could even go with certified. You got your trade-in, your scheduled service. Why not get approved? These are all the things that matter. And I've said this for years as well. Nobody cares about the dealership. Everybody cares about contacting the dealership. So if you look at that, now again, you might be a different brand. Maybe you do lifted trucks, and that's a huge business. And we've got clients like that. So yeah, if you need to focus on that, throw it up there if it's that important. The other one, we see a lot of body shop, just custom vehicles, whatever they may be. The point is, I love to just trim the fat or trim down the bloat. I think that's a big opportunity just to get rid of these pages. And here's the kicker. And Rick, I'll get back to your question in a second. The key thing here is don't just delete a page without looking at the data. You've got the data. Use it. It takes 10 seconds. Grab the URL extension, put it into your Google Analytics, look at the page traffic for the last 12 months. And what happens is you wind up seeing a new page that appeared. And the funny thing is, over a 12-month span, you probably had 7 sessions to it. and probably 3 of them were you, and 4 of them were the other people you shared it with in the store. So if you don't have any real activity from it, it's probably a page that doesn't need to be in the navigation. Declutter it, trim the fat, whatever you want to call it, just get rid of it, make it easier and simpler. But not only don't just do it for your desktop search or your desktop navigation, take a look at what your activity is with the devices on your mobile navigation as well. Make that even simpler if you need to, because there are certain pages that they're simply not getting to at all on their mobile devices. So think like that and just make it even easier. Again, you got all these other pages under here. Let's jump into this column real quick as well. These are pseudo blog posts, helpful content, but it's not something that people are looking to go to Twins Falls Subaru to figure out what the heck Subaru eyesight is. That's something, again, depending on the content, depending on the stage of the shopper. Some of this stuff I find that is probably better off, just something that is more of an outbound communication. This should be worked into a regular cadence on your outbound CRM emails that go maybe, it starts a new timer after they buy the car. This is helpful information then. Again, just, make the determination on the type of content and the way that would, solve their problems. But, just take a look
Eric,
at that.
With that example, so Subaru eyesight, typically something, maybe someone would, pull up Google and search for that versus go to a dealership website and search for something like that. However, if that's like an anchor text on one of his more, robust or more popular pages, does it help the fact that he's got that link with the corresponding anchor text going to that landing page? Does that hold any value anymore?
It absolutely does. But my argument is I haven't seen any, when I look at the traffic data, Jeff, I'm looking at the sources, and you will wind up seeing, suddenly you start to see PPC traffic, social traffic. If you don't see that, then obviously nothing's being driven to it. And if you do see some organic traffic, which is a great segue over into the true blog activity, take a look at that secondary dimension with regards to where the traffic is coming from the city qualifier, because this is a common thread, Jeff, and a common argument that comes up. You got these people that are building this content, and yes, it may be helpful. And to your point, they're searching for it on Google. However, where is that traffic actually coming from? So Christian, in this case, let's say, for instance, hypothetically, you go into your analytics and you see they got 4,000 visitors all year long that land on this page organically, but 25% of them are from Miami. Then you got Texas, Dallas. You maybe got San Francisco, maybe you got Boston, and then you take a look. Then you filter down to your conversions, and nobody's calling, nobody's submitting. Now all you've become essentially, Twins Falls Subaru has become a media company to create helpful content about Subaru eyesight. If you want
one thing that always scares me about that is it can really throw off your analytics.
Absolutely.
You get one of these pages that just explodes for whatever reason, and your website traffic jumps up by, let's say 1,500 more extra visits a month, and then you realize, hell, they're all to this one particular blog article. I mean, great, obviously there's some pros to that, but it's also gonna, it's not going to help your conversion. It's not, exactly. All of a sudden, someone's looking at your analytics. It just inflates the value, the number of true value traffic coming to your website. Is there a way on analytics or anything to cut those, not cut them off from the search engines, but cut them off so they don't show up in your analytics and the reports?
Well, sure, you can create a custom segment.
Are you really going to sell less cars because of it?
I'm sorry, what was
that? No, you're not
Right?
going to sell less cars.
Yeah, but if you're getting to that point, Alex, if you're looking at your analytics and taking a look at, I just did this. I actually ran, ironically enough, I spoke to a dealer that had this. There's Anthony saying he had a Bronco page go national. Look at that. It ruined his top line data. Now, obviously, if you drill back down, you take a look at the city, the devices, and more importantly, the conversions from that. The one that I looked at yesterday, Alex, the time on site was outstanding. It was like 2 or 3 times the site average. It was like 4.5 minutes. Fantastic. However, all the traffic was all around the country, no conversions, and the bounce rate on it was about 93%. It was good quality, but it left right away. Only one page. It only looked at one page usually, and they read the whole article. It was a great article, great blog post, very helpful, and even more to the point, Alex, it was on a vehicle that manufacturer doesn't even make anymore. It was an older issue, very common issue actually. So people are in fact searching for it. So how do you fix that? So Christian, back to your audit. How do we stay extremely effective? And this is something that is very, very simple. So you've got a great post about this topic. Okay. Now you've got the ability to add a little bit more context to this, by at least mentioning the vehicle that's in the photo. Possibly there's an opportunity to link from that blog post to that, whether it's a filtered search or a VDP or or a landing page that you've got about with the current offers on it. I would want to link to a static page, something that that isn't going to go away. It's not going to be a pain in the butt to manage. But think of these posts back to my media content remark earlier. This is your opportunity to add a native link. Why not put our native CTA? Put a primary and a secondary CTA into all of your posts. Now you've got the opportunity that if you do get a post, like Anthony said, that does in fact go national, and you do get a little bit more coverage, maybe you do get somebody that clicks a link, clicks a button, and then takes it even further. That's how I would leverage.
Is there any value, because this is all around, I see it's around Valley House Homeless Shelter. Does it help to go ahead? I mean, I would probably go ahead and link to their website.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I didn't know if that, I mean, does it help from an SEO content strategy overall?
Yeah, Google does like to see links going back out. Obviously, they would prefer a link coming back in. Now, if you have an opportunity to get a link from them back to this, maybe
that would be awesome.
Absolutely. But again, I just for a disclaimer, I basically shy away from the off-page optimization. I've done it before. It's extremely time consuming. There is no automation for it. If there is, that's not a good way to go about it. Those are old school tactics. Off-page links are still about 20% of the ranking factor that Google is looking for. So it is still a thing. I'm just not going to touch base on it onto this. The only thing I will say, Christian, is if you have Google Search Console set up, which I believe you said you did, another plugin for you guys to look at is SEO Meta Inspector. So you can quickly see the head, title, and description for the pages, and you can see the length and the content. This tool will actually tell you if you do in fact have Search Console as well. But in this case, go to Search Console and just check your links and see if you have any essentially bad links that you might want to disavow. And that's basically just telling Google, hey, ignore this link and let's get rid of it and get it out of the system, so you don't get any type of manual penalty or any type of bad signals coming back. And it's very rare that happens, but it does, and it's something that should be on your list. In this case, here's a perfect example of how I use this plugin. Again, just do a Google search for SEO Meta Inspector. It's just 2 little light bulbs. Install that. It's free. Then you can see your head title. There, you got this in here. Your meta description. Unfortunately, it's duplicating right from the title. It does help, obviously, to put the description in. It's not a ranking factor. I won't tell you that that'll improve it. However, the description is typically described as just being something that might improve the click-through rate factor.
I have to double check and see if that's a limitation of our platform or not, because I know that when I create the blog posts, I have the title and then I write the description for it. So the fact that it's showing the title as the description is a bit disheartening, because I did take some time to write in the actual description.
Yeah, just check with them. Check with your provider. That may be a function they do. They may be able to just check something. Maybe they might have something automatic in there that's just auto populating that. Rick was asking, does page engagement in fact impact it? Yeah, absolutely, because Google's looking at the activity and the behavior. Literally, the first two columns in your analytics. They want to see good quality traffic coming in, and how does that behave? Google doesn't want to look at a page that gets extremely high bounces and extremely low time on page, and they're not going to use those as signals to say, hey, that must be a great page. It's obviously helping people, so we're going to rank it higher. So those items do actually go towards that. It's part of the overall picture that they're looking at. And it's part of the long-standing argument about, does PPC influence SEO? And I say that I've always said, my school of thought is that there is in fact a relationship with that, because if you have a very good PPC campaign and it's driving traffic into a page, if you are if that traffic is coming in and actually engaging and clicking around and sticking around and looking at other pages and in fact converting, Google's going to take that into consideration. You're just basically speeding up the process for Google to be able to see good page activity on it. So it's all connected. So, and even more to the point, and we'll touch base on it as well if we have time, about the page engagement factors. That's part of the whole new what they call core web vitals. It's a whole new layer of activity that Google's looking at to try to rate and check your site. I think I pulled it up here, and you can see it actually on the page speed insights. This is something that you do, in fact, probably want to go back to them, to your provider, Christian, and take a look at. This is saying that the page is loading a little bit slow. Just have them take a look at it. Again, it may have just been the initial timing, but have them double check on their end as well. These items right here, Alex, these are part of the new Core Web Vitals program, the algorithm that they're looking at. These, a lot of technical stuff, but it's basically what they're looking at is just how long does it take for the initial meat of the content on the page to load, the largest component of the page. This one is really, really important, the cumulative layout shift. They're just looking at a page, how about the, how long it takes for not only the page to load, but the objects on the page, does it shift around? So just think of it like that. I made a comment about that, Jeff, actually in the predictions article that you posted on DealerRefresh. When you're loading something, especially on mobile, in terms of how about how this the buttons load, that's important. You don't want to go and press something, and if you've ever had that experience when you try to press it and it suddenly moves and you press the wrong button, then you got to go back and start over. That's a pain. And Google literally described it as, we want the experience to be delightful. And these are the types of things that they're looking at. So take a look at this. Again, this is the Google page speed insights. These are really, really important things too, Alex. Google actually is not putting a lot of these items into effect as ranking factors until June of 2021. And they announced a lot of this stuff last summer, and they're giving website owners essentially about a year or so to get ready for this stuff. So this is a great example of why it's important, obviously, to stay on top of these items. And it's very difficult, obviously, for a dealership to do that on their own. So to have a partner, obviously, that understands this and is looking out for it, because the name of the game now is just preparation. Just like we were talking about the Google My Business profile before, instead of playing catch up when these new features come in, just be prepared. Just be prepared to be able to optimize every one of your properties the best possible way. Let's dive back in. Any other questions, Christian?
There was a good question from Bruce Hartz about whether this is a responsive site or not. And this is a dealer.com website, and I believe they're still using something they call seamless. So when it comes to checking speeds like this, you probably need to also look at your mobile site too, separately from the desktop, if there's a way to do that.
Well, they've also started rolling the Subaru stores out to where we are getting a little bit more of a responsive. It's not the seamless, just because that did create essentially two sites to manage, and now they are getting more on the responsive side.
But regardless of the framework that a platform is using now, anyways, Alex, Google has shifted pretty much everybody's website over to mobile first indexing anyways, where they're taking a look at that mobile version first, then they're referring back. And what they're doing by going backwards like that, they just want to make sure that what the content that you're showing on one is literally the same as the other. They don't want you showing two different versions of it. They want that experience to be absolutely, absolutely perfect in terms of matching. Don't hide one or just, force another. So they want it all to be the same. But they're taking a look at the mobile version of this as well, in terms of, these factors. But again, go through this. It's a great tool, obviously. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I just
ran our dealership website through, and we had a 61% for first content, 91% for first input, 67% for largest content. But then we really sucked in the cumulative.
There was another good tool that I found as well. I don't know how much it aligns with it, but it's just simply called Web Vitals. And it's this red square here. And if you click that, it'll give you a quick little snapshot view at the paint and delay and shift metrics as well. So you can at least see that. And again, these things are changing, and they literally say right on there, might change. And again, I've seen these after different firings where it does render out different, but that's also a function of the other scripts that are running, just other images, just other items on the page. Maybe things are conflicting. So again, worthwhile to at least keep an eye on and know that these are things that Google's looking for, other than just a page title, or other than just, hey, is there content? They're looking at so many things, and I think that list is it's probably beyond 200 factors now. And it's impossible to cover all of them. And all I'm trying to look at is just those items that you actually can impact, that you can touch, that do make a difference. And as well, those items that if you are working with an SEO provider, these are the things that you should be holding them to for accountability for as well. I'll be honest with you guys. We're beyond the days of an SEO provider coming back with a report and showing you the top 20 terms that happen to be all your dealership name and brand terms. There's nothing you're going to do with that. You're already ranked one for that. Maybe one, maybe two. So
what about the PPC providers that do it?
We'll do a part 2 on that, Alex.
But you're ranking so well for your dealership name.
Yeah, look at
Why
this.
would you want to get rid of that?
Yeah, you're ranking great for Kirshner Volvo. It's like, look at that. Another one. Let's dive into this as well. These pages too. When these research pages. Now, what happens often is these pages are added, and sometimes the dealership may not even know. Obviously, you want to have some type of a communication plan in place. A lot of times as well that I see when I do these audits, Christian, is that you'll have multiple landing pages or just multiple vehicle pages. And then sometimes they get lost in the shuffle. They wind up sticking in there. I found one a couple months ago. It was a 2019 Ford Explorer page, something like that. It was really old. It was buried in there. And what you have is the new Ford Explorer page being added. Somehow they missed a year, but they went from 19 to 21. And then you have these pages in here, and they were literally the same content. And they're trying to, it appeared at least that they were trying to optimize, obviously, for make model in a specific location. Well, those pages are going to compete against each other. And there's different ways, obviously, to manage that, whether it's just redirecting the old one to the new one, or at least re-optimizing it for a specific year. There's a lot of different tactics that you can take with it. But again, it's a type of thing that you need to be aware of. Where do these pages come from? Where are they going? How are they being used? Is there a competition level that needs to be taken into consideration as well?
So take those old model content pages, and I guess archive them. Maybe, of course, you're not going to have a link in the main search there. Would you just archive them and make sure they're still on the sitemap, and then maybe go back and reformat them with different content going after the pre-owned?
That's what I was going to say. Is how can you leverage that content maybe from a used or from a certified standpoint? What I've found, again, I may be wrong. I'm not saying I'm absolutely 100% correct on this. However, I have seen through my research that when I go through and try to find the pages that are in fact ranking and the keywords associated with them, and I'll show you an example of that real quick. It's not the 2021, it's not the 2020, it's the
2018.
2016, 2015.
Yeah. 4 to 5.
That's what people are looking for, and especially if that's an opportunity, there's your signal to take one of those older pages and again re-optimize it for that. So let's go through and let's do something like this. I'll show you an example of one of the tools that I use from that list, and I think I already did a page. So this is SpyFuel. If anybody hasn't seen it, there is a free version. This is the full version. What I did here under the research tab, there's a new function that they've had for several months now. I love this. It's a great way, again, to audit. Everybody wants to know, what are my pages ranked for? I take the ranking with a little bit of grain of salt. I do check at least the cached version and look at the ranking history and just try to see where is it actually at. But here's a great example. This is saying the most valuable keywords. There's about 446 of them total, and they give you the keyword and the page associated with that. And I've sorted this now by volume, and you can see it'll tell you if you got some new rankings. But again, the only one of the most valuable, at least, let me do it this way. I'll sort it by rank. There's your pages that rank. There's the volume. So unfortunately, some of these don't have volume, but you've got number 1 rankings. You've got page 1 rankings. Some goofy terms in here. I don't know how many people are searching My Subaru to try to find a specific dealership.
And by the way, how new is this site, Christian?
Mid-June of last year. So just under a year.
Brand new completely? Brand new URL?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not bad for a year. Again, just, you've got so many different factors that you can look at through this. It'll tell you the desktop searches, mobile searches. There's a bunch of other factors that you can put in here. If you want to look at the pay-per-click side of things, show only words that show, fire on the homepage, however you want to customize it. It'll even give you an estimation. I take SEO clicks with a grain of salt, because when I see something that is literally further down, like even on page 2, I wonder exactly how many clicks I'm getting from a page 2 rank. However, this is a great example. Cheap used car dealership. Your call if you want to be, if you want to try to optimize for that, but maybe you got some lower priced inventory. Maybe you got a page that talks specifically about this topic. Maybe you want to do a blog post about it. Maybe you want to do a post about your top 10 cheap used cars. Perfect way to leverage that content, that topic. And again, wherever you're putting it, just put it on a page that is literally all about that topic. You've already got a nice first start, which is great, because Google's saying, hey, this is the first time we're seeing it. We're ranking it on the top of page 2, pretty much on the 13th spot, and about 500 people a month look for it. And traffic is pretty much split between local and from mobile or /local and desktop. So maybe there's an opportunity to even rank for something like that on a local basis. Make sense?
Blog posts, yeah, definitely. A blog post versus just a normal platform content page. Is one better than the other?
No, I can't answer that. That depends on the platform, the competition, the terms. Okay. I will say this from my experience: the pages that we optimize for our landing pages at Dealer Teamwork, we can wind up typically we can always rank those terms very, very well for make, model, lease, and finance and price and incentives, those types of terms. When I've tried to optimize for sale, it's a little bit harder. It takes a little bit longer. And like I said before, I want the keywords at least to be attainable in a reasonable time. However, I do have better opportunities to be able to optimize the inventory pages. Those pages on the other platforms, regardless of the web provider, for whatever reason, probably because it's native to the site, those pages will wind up ranking very well for the for sale terms. Rick said, I think it was tips for optimizing images. Great point. I was going to mention that earlier on the audit. Be careful of those reports that show thousands of issues and errors and warnings. It'll happen with any tool. And if you see a vendor that comes to you and says, hey, you got 9,000 errors, I'm going to fix all these for you, just tell them, no, you're not. And just, it'll never happen. However,
Yeah.
you can optimize the images that you place in your blog posts and your other landing pages and throughout the site. Obviously, just make them as descriptive as possible. Just describe the picture. If it's literally a Ford Explorer front 3/4 view, blue, then make that part of your your description. Just be as descriptive as possible. I do like
JPEG.
I'm sorry.
I was just thinking about the compression. Any tips around the compression? What to use to compress images?
Just keep it as small as possible, so you don't, so you're not losing any type of image quality. But
Okay.
So let's see. That's a great point. Yeah, just the GTM script. You got orphan GTM script, as they call them. They'll wind up sitting there. Kirsten, let's take a look at another page on here real quick for you, and we'll show you an example of another one, like even the used cars. Used cars page. This is a great one to be able to try to optimize for. Again, we'll take our editor tool real quick, pop this in, pre-owned. Let's do pre-owned vehicles for sale. It's a basic thing, just something like that. Whoops, I had caps on. But you get the point. Just adding a little bit more context to that. Same with the page title. Let's take a look at that. This is a good one. I like that. I like the format with the location in the front. You honestly really don't need the name of it. You don't need to stress the name of it, rather. I don't see any issues for that. But let's take a look at that page. And again, let's take a look at what's actually going on with the ranking for that page. And then you can at least see your opportunities. Again, let's rank it from top to bottom on volume. So you got 3 keywords there. So you got 300, 400. I don't really pay too much attention to anything below 50, but there's your rank. So you're nestled back there.
The car store. Is there a dealership out there called the car store?
Yeah, they have like 5 locations around town.
There you go. Okay. So as part of the audit,
for them.
part of the competitive analysis as well would include a component to be able to look for those other competitors. And just this tool does in fact give you the ability to take a look at the amount of overlap, the number of competing keywords, the number of unique keywords, and then you can use this tool to be able to pull those out, be able to apply that. And again, this is not necessarily something that a dealership should be trying to do internally. If you've got somebody that's dedicated for that, fantastic. But again, you got to be able to understand what is the process. Is it repeatable? Is it scalable? And again, if you have a vendor, these are the types of things that you should be at least aware of, so you can again hold them accountable, because this is how you wind up creating the impact and the effect that we talked about in the beginning. Because again, all we're trying to do, guys, is very simple. We're trying to make the website more visible. And if you got the right keywords as well that at least have decent volume, maybe you have overlap to your competitors, now you know what to go after, what to pull out, and how to target those back into the appropriate pages, so you do show up better in your local market. That make sense?
Yep.
Question.
Yeah, absolutely.
This sort of goes old school. When you're building out the content pages, does your header 1, 2, 3, etc. Does that still have weight?
It does, both from a ranking standpoint. It does impact obviously the relevancy of the page, but it's also a great page experience element, Jeff. I think a lot of people overlook
Easier
that.
to read.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only just easier to read, easier to absorb, and comprehend. That's what we want, because we all do it. We get to a page with a block of text, we scan for the pictures, we scan for the section titles. And if it's got, we're so used to clickbaity type of topics, we want to see what's going on. We need the answer right away. It's got to have that immediacy impact as well, and to be able to find that. And if it's just a big block of text, it's not going to get the engagement that you're hoping for. But again, just add that for the additional relevance as well. The opportunity again exists at the bottom of the page, at the top of the page as well. And I noticed this is on top of that when I was going through it, Christian. This is great. I love question and answer format, and so does Google. bullets, ordered lists, bullet lists. Google literally even said in one of their quality guidelines that they love bullets when it has, their magic number is 9 bullets. Whatever reason that is, that's what their algorithm likes. So bullet lists, short paragraphs, short sections as well. Again, the ability to actually answer a specific question. And I do that a lot with our clients as well. And I work with them. I don't want to take the same block of text that was written, that we wrote, and we don't even do that. We wind up working with them to build custom content, get their content back. They literally help answer the questions, those top 10 questions, or just making sure we've got the brand messaging in there. And then we start to optimize it for the topic, and we level it, just level it in there. Rick's asking, is Search Console so important? Absolutely. You definitely need Search Console because they actually have now a lot of the new core Web Vitals elements, Rick, that are accessible inside Search Console. You need that as well because part of the audit, and we haven't even touched on that. Here's the results of the audit from one of the tools on the resource list, and that's Screaming Frog. I'm sure everybody's heard about it. And it's very simple. You put the URL in, start the crawl. It'll take you, depending on the size of the sitemap and the size of the site, it'll take a lot of, it'll take a few minutes, obviously, to run that. But to your point, Rick, being able to access the info about the health and the quality of the sitemap, if there's errors with that, and you want to be able to find this, so you can see those links that are actually in your sitemap, and to be able to go through. I just did one the other day. I noticed in their sitemap, literally every single URL had a second copy of it, and it ended in -2. And there wasn't a canonical tag, the instructions to tell Google to ignore that page. So Google is literally reading those pages twice, and it confuses the heck out of Google. So that's a real simple reason. And the whole point here, Christian, the point of doing this, doing this exercise of auditing the site like this, is now I can take a quick look at what all the meta descriptions are. I can see which pages are important, which pages have duplicates, and you can quickly sort these. And again, I pay no attention to the SRPs and VDPs. I'm just looking at static pages in the navigation, priority landing pages, things like that. Like, I'm not going to worry about these. These are all just they're all either duplicate pages or just dynamic pages. And again, it's going to tell you what the meta description length is. It's going to tell you, is it indexable? It'll tell you if it's got a canonical tag. Again, these are all the types of things that you should at least be aware of. I don't ever expect anybody to dive in and do this on their own. That's not feasible for a dealership. Again, these are those technical items that go into play with regards to, can Google find the website? It's as simple as that. Somebody asked why GMB is not optimized for a majority of dealerships. Great question. We've been asking that for years. I believe that a lot more dealers are aware of it now. And I also believe that they're starting to understand the importance of it in terms of sticking with the traffic in your backyard, because you can absolutely catch more local traffic with an optimized GMB. And as we said before, all the new stuff coming from GMB from Google, that's only going to just add to the importance and the severity of paying attention to how well your store actually works in your local market. And if you haven't checked it, anybody, Christian, you as well, take a look at your your discovery searches. Those discovery searches should be a lot higher than your regular search buckets, the direct and the branded, because there are so many more searches. More people search for car dealer near me than they do Subaru Impreza for sale.
So that reminds me of something that I've been trying to figure out. I use, Android phones. So I use the Google News just to get an idea of, global highlights, news, and all that. Every once in a while, I'll see a dealer's either VDP or a page from their site pop up in that as something I may have missed. Is there anything specific that can be done to appear in that, or is that just going to be a maybe you show up in it, maybe you don't kind of thing?
And you said this was a search from your phone?
It's not even a search. It's just scrolling through the news, and it'll just bring over pages that Google thinks I might be interested in, and I'll get things from different Subaru dealers across the country that pop up there every once in a while. Sometimes it's a VDP, sometimes it's a blog post, sometimes it's, something, but it's just different content from other dealers, but it's always far away. It's nothing that's really too local to me. So I wasn't sure if there's a way to optimize that and possibly get in there and show up.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that after, because I want to see what, how it's rendering and how it's actually showing. I don't know if that's a paid unit or if it's, I would just want to see it before I would be able to comment on how to try to optimize for that. So there's so many different ad units now. There's speaking of that, Jeff, I don't know if you saw, there might be a new search unit coming in where, how when you go into Google and you start typing in, used cars for me, and you start seeing all of these items drop down. They're testing ads in here, so you can actually create an ad in the drop down in the autofill. So
cool.
Yeah, Christian, just send me. Maybe we can shoot me a message after. We can talk about that.
Yeah, next time I see one, I'll take a screen capture and see if it shows anything. Because on the newsfeed, it'll usually say ad next to it if it is an ad. So I don't know if that was a pre-test thing before they were putting that extra tag on there.
Oh, okay. But yeah, this is between the audit. Let me jump back to this. I'll show you the rest of this, guys. Between the rest of the audit and those tools, I made the analogy. I've made this, for years and years now. Your website is literally like a file cabinet, and all you're doing is organizing those tabs in there. If you've ever gone into your file cabinet, I'm sure that cabinet behind you, Jeff, is a complete garbage fire, dumpster fire mess. You can't find stuff, probably because these things are not labeled properly. It's literally the same concept for your website. All right. So, and again, I'll share this out afterwards, Jeff. You guys can share the link if anybody wants it. It's got some resources in it, but there's just a quick summary. Obviously, there's a ton of things, but these are typically the ways that I try to start with it in terms of what should we look at from that aspect, and then from a technical SEO aspect. These are the types of things that we've talked about today so far, and just especially when you're dealing with a vendor, benchmarking your activity is so important. Where did you start from? How are you going to measure your success? And at the end of the day, how should you measure success from SEO? I'm sure everybody has their own opinion. I try to keep it very simple. Do we see a lift in organic traffic? Do we see new users, then new users as well? And what are the outcomes from that? And is it good quality traffic, obviously, that we're getting? And we're getting a lift on the important pages as well. Those are the types of things that you want to be able to benchmark. And then lastly, if you are tracking individual keywords, I would strongly recommend you don't worry about ranking for every single keyword. Pick a few good ones, make sure you know what the competition is looking at as well, and then just stick to those. It's like taking that mindset like, I got to buy all the stocks out there because they're all going to, someday one of them is going to pop. Well, it's going to be impossible to do that. Well, just pick a few good ones, competitive, attainable, it's got some volume. Excuse me.
Well, I think, that's the hard part, because like I said earlier, when we first got started, it's the competition is so stiff out there. So should a dealership go after long tail? Is there a tool out there to do some different searches to see, okay, you know what, the chances of me breaking into page one for this keyword strategy is probably not going to happen. Is there anything out there that sort of maybe show you the holes, again, especially from a long tail keyword strategy, where it's like, if I did this right, I could break into page one, maybe even get within the top 3 listings?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Jeff. And you shouldn't be afraid of, obviously, the competitive nature of it. But this tool and pretty much any other paid tool out there will give you the competitive insights that you need to at least understand what's going on. And again, a good partner is going to be able to help you decipher that and create a good quality strategy to be able to execute against that so that you can reach those goals. So for instance, these competitors, they're just pulling out. They may not be local to you, Christian. And again, I'll send you this info so you can check it out. But what this tool and other tools will be able to do is give you the overlap, and they'll tell you how many common keywords you share. What are those, what's the number of keywords that you compete against? Yeah, so in this case, you can take a quick look at this. There's the competitive overview. There's your site. There's a couple of the other ones, and then you can see what's unique to you, what's the shared keywords. They'll give you all the data that you possibly need. Not a lot of good quality keywords from this comparison. You can see that there's not a lot of activity. So it's just a matter of siphoning through and finding those ones that do matter. Jeff, to your point, which pages actually matter? Where's the volume? And again, is it attainable? Is it competitive enough? And is it something that makes sense to either the pages I have or the blog pages or additional content that I should be making? And then that's part of that overall content strategy as well that ties into that. Again, the work itself is not the hard part. The hard part is the strategy and being able to decipher this to be able to put a plan in place that's actually going to make a difference in terms of doing what we tried to say before, in terms of what we're trying to accomplish: a lift in organic, more users, and more new users. As a dealer, I always just wanted to look at new users, obviously. But again, let's go back to this real quick. We'll just run through this and we'll wrap it up. There's some quick items. Pick what's important to you, Christian. Obviously, that's important. Unfortunately, a lot of people doing SEO will just say, "Hey, yeah, we're optimizing the site." Well, what the heck does that mean? What are you doing? What's the plan with it, and how does that relate to success? Make a plan. Just create it. Like I said, how is it measured? And then finally, guys, just a couple of quick examples. So here's a term that I found for a dealership on the East Coast. They had large inventory when we started working with them last summer. They originally ranked number 89 on this term. And we made a bunch of tweaks, added some content, changed that around. And actually the URL that came up was the homepage. And we were optimizing for both the homepage and a couple other pages at the same time. And we were just waiting to see how it jockeyed around. We started eliminating content. We started moving some over, and then had, again, additional links. We made some videos about it. We had paid search campaigns. So we had a lot of stuff that was contributing to it. And it really didn't take that long. It literally, after some of the first changes jumped up, it was still buried on page 2 for a little while. And you can see now they've owned page 1 pretty much since last fall. And the green flag on here, you can see that's an indicator that it's actually showing up in the map pack in their local search. So we're pinging the local, the location that they're in. Great volume. Again, this is not local volume, that's aggregate volume, but it's a good, strong term. And now if somebody in their market happens to search, even if it is a few hundred times, they're going to show up in the map pack. And that's a great way to extend that reach, obviously, for local search. Another quick example, there's one on brand, Subaru Auto Finance. You saw those examples that we made in a quick live edit there, Christian, in terms of the keywords. This one, same thing. This one jumped up, and we've owned number 3. Not sure why we haven't been able to get a little bit higher, but it's something we just keep working for. But again, at least they're in the map pack, and that's on the homepage. And then here's a little bit more deeper intent. These guys never ranked for this term ever before. Lease Kia Sportage, good volume, about 3,000 times a month. It's a lower level landing page. When we first started tracking the keyword, I captured it at about 7. The long term, again, the site itself, I was able to determine that from SpyView. They never ranked for the term, as I said. It actually went down. And I love showing that to clients as well, too, guys, because I want to be as transparent as possible. This is not a straight line up. Stuff will bounce around. But now we're sitting good, like I said, you can see here at number 3. Not a local, result. Google's just not showing that function in there at all. And then here's a list of audit tools. As I promised as well, I don't know, there's probably 10, 12, 15 of them on there for you. So that's all I got, guys. I hope that was helpful. Christian, I appreciate it.
Yeah, such a ton just a ton of information as always.
Kudos to Christian for volunteering as well. I mean, you guys are doing the right thing. I love your
thanks, Chris.
Yeah, of course, glad to be on.
Yeah. Any questions, guys?
Well, there was the one.
Well, I got questions, but
interested in it as well as the voice search compared to local search and the other search. How can we make sure that we're optimizing for that as well with all the smart devices?
Great question. My personal advice is don't worry about it now. I mean, think of it. Let's take a quick poll of the three of you guys. How many times have you asked your Alexa anything about your car?
Hey, Alexa, tell me about my car. All right, I did it once.
I believe I'm not arguing against voice search. I believe that it is an importance. I believe it's an important topic. I just don't believe we're there yet. And then remember, Jeff, I actually touched on that in the predictions article. I was talking about that a couple of years ago, and I said, yeah, it'll blow up for automotive. And I even put the instructions on. Several other vendors joined the bandwagon as well. I don't think we're wrong. I just think we're a little bit too early. And I do think we have to be prepared for it, but we're just not there yet. I buy stuff from my smart speaker all the time. I got one here, got one in the other rooms. I've never asked it for, oil change coupons or anything like that.
Dude, we're just hitting the brink of QR codes, and we've been talking about that for 14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only ones who shop on Google are your toddlers and little kids who are buying things that are on the voice searches. They're buying things you didn't know they were going to buy.
True. Yeah, I hear my daughter doing that.
Well, thanks, guys. I do have to run, but I appreciate it as always. I love being on with you guys. I'm glad we were able to share some good stuff. Hopefully that was helpful for everybody watching. And the one thing I wanted to share at the end, it's tough out there right now. It's very tough. And I'm not talking about business. It's tough out there personally. So
say, what are you referring to?
Check in on your friends. That's all I'm going to say. I want to make a quick shout out to my friend Chris Palermo. I know anybody watching probably doesn't know him, but he was my college roommate, and I just found out he's got cancer. And we just gotta. Everybody's got to keep things in perspective, and check in on your friends, and that's what's important right now. All this stuff is secondary, so just be safe, everybody.
Good advice, Eric. You got it. Thanks. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Thanks.